Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something fascinating, something inside all of us, our gut health, and specifically this incredible world of microbes living there, the microbiome.
That's right. It's a huge area of research right now. We'll be looking at what key places like the NIH, the Mayo Clinic are saying about it.
Exactly. Think of it as exploring this kind of hidden universe within you. There's so much interest, so many rapid developments.
It's moving incredibly fast. What we thought we knew even 5 years ago is already evolving.
So our goal today is really just to understand the basics. What is gut health, and how does this microbiome thing actually affect our overall well-being?
Sounds good. Solid foundation.
Okay, let's dive in then. This microbiome.
Mm.
What are we actually talking about? Is it like just the bacteria hanging out in our gut?
Yeah, that's a common starting point. Bacteria are definitely a huge part, maybe the most famous part. But the microbiome is, well, it's broader.
Broader how?
Think of it less like just bacteria and more like a whole bustling city inside your large intestine, mainly. It's this vast community, trillions of microorganisms. So yes, bacteria, but also viruses, fungi, other tiny single-celled life forms.
Wow. Okay, so a whole ecosystem.
Exactly, an
Yeah.
ecosystem. And the NIH definition is important here. It includes not just the microbes themselves, but all their genetic material too, their genes.
All their genes. Why is that distinction important?
Because that collective genetic potential is enormous. It gives us, the host, capabilities we don't have on our own.
Okay, trillions, you said. I remember hearing this stat, like they outnumber our human cells 10 to 1. Is that
Yeah.
still accurate?
Yes, the 10-to-1 ratio. That was the figure for a long time. It really captured the imagination, didn't it?
It definitely did.
But more recent calculations, including work the NIH has looked at, suggest it's probably much closer to 1-to-1.
Oh, really? So about the same number of microbial cells as human cells?
Roughly, yes. Still, we're talking somewhere around, say, 38 trillion microbial cells living in and on you. It's not a small number by any means.
38 trillion.
Yeah.
Still hard to wrap your head around. And they weigh something too, right?
They do. Collectively, maybe 3-4 pounds. Like another organ almost.
Huh. But you mentioned their genes being important. Tell me more about that, the second genome idea.
Yes, exactly. This is where it gets kind of mind-blowing. Your human genome, right? It has about, 20,000 genes, give or take.
Okay.
Now, estimates for the number of unique microbial genes in your gut microbiome, we're talking over 9 million.
9 million compared to our 20,000.
9 million versus 20,000. It's staggering. This microbial gene pool massively expands our metabolic toolkit. It lets us do things, chemically speaking,
Yeah.
that our own human genes just can't handle.
Like what sort of thing?
We'll get into that, but digestion of certain fibers is a key one. Vitamin synthesis, too.
Okay, incredible. And within those trillions of microbes, is it just a handful of dominant types, or is there a lot of variety?
Oh, huge variety, massive diversity. Scientists estimate there could be, over 1,000 different species of bacteria alone in one person.
1,000 species.
Easily. And if you include all the other types, fungi, viruses, archaea, some research suggests the total number of species could be maybe 3,000, even up to 5,000.
Wow. So it's like a rainforest down there.
That's a great analogy. A thriving garden, a rainforest. Yeah. And just like in nature, diversity is generally key for resilience. A more diverse gut microbiome tends to be a healthier, more stable one. Each species kind of has its own job, its own niche.
Makes sense. So how do we get this diverse community? Are we born with it?
Not exactly born with it, but the process starts immediately, right at birth. And how you're born makes a big difference.
How so?
Well, babies born vaginally get their first big dose of microbes from the mother's birth canal and gut microbiota. Lots of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus species. It's like a starter kit.
Okay, what about C-sections?
Babies born via C-section tend to pick up their first microbes more from, say, the mother's skin, other caregivers, the hospital environment itself. It's a different starting point, and research is looking into the long-term implications of that.
Interesting. And after birth, what shapes it then?
Oh, lots of things. Early feeding is absolutely critical. Breast milk, for instance, is amazing stuff. It contains these special sugars called HMOs, human milk oligosaccharides.
HMOs?
Yeah, and our human enzymes can't digest them. But guess who can? Certain beneficial bacteria in the baby's gut, especially bifidobacteria. HMOs are basically prebiotics fertilizers specifically for those good guys.
The breast milk is actively cultivating the baby's microbiome.
Precisely. And then as the child grows, Their diet, their environment, any medications like antibiotics, all these things continue to shape the microbiome. Those first few years, maybe the first 3 to 5, are really crucial for establishing a more stable, adult-like microbial community.
Right, so it develops over time. Okay, so we had this huge, diverse community. They're not just sitting there, are they?
Oh.
What are they doing for us?
Definitely not just sitting there. They are incredibly active. Think of them as tiny metabolic powerhouses constantly working.
Powerhouses, okay? Doing what?
One of the biggest jobs, something places like Harvard Health often highlight, is digestion. Specifically, digesting things we can't.
Like fiber.
Exactly. Complex carbohydrates, dietary fiber from plants. Our own digestive enzymes often can't break those down completely, but certain gut microbes can. They ferment this fiber.
And what happens when they ferment it?
They produce these incredibly beneficial compounds called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. You might have heard of some of them: butyrate, acetate, propionate.
Butyrate, yes, I've definitely heard of that one.
Right. Butyrate is super important. It's the main fuel source for the cells lining your colon. It keeps that gut lining healthy and strong. Acetate and propionate travel elsewhere, influencing metabolism in the liver and other tissues. They even support muscle function.
So digesting fiber for us and producing fuel, that's pretty vital.
Absolutely. And these SCFAs are linked to all sorts of health benefits, potentially helping prevent chronic diseases, too.
What else? I think I read somewhere they make vitamins.
You did. They are like little vitamin factories. Your gut microbes synthesize several B vitamins: B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, folate, B9, even B12 in some cases, plus vitamin K.
Seriously? They make B12. I thought we had to get that from food.
Well, the B12 they make might not be absorbed and utilized as effectively as dietary B12 for our systemic needs. That's still debated, and likely depends on where in the gut it's made. But for some of the other B vitamins and vitamin K, the amounts they produce can actually contribute significantly to our daily requirements.
That's amazing. Tiny vitamin factories. Okay, what about the immune system? I always hear the gut mentioned with immunity.
Oh, that's a huge one. Absolutely crucial. Your gut is a major hug for your immune system. Some estimates say around 70% of your immune cells reside in or around your gut tissue.
70%. Wow.
Yeah. And the microbiome plays a critical role in basically training your immune system, especially early in life. It helps immune cells learn to tell the difference between harmful invaders like pathogens and harmless things like food particles or even our own beneficial microbes.
So it educates the immune system.
Exactly. A healthy microbiome also helps strengthen the gut barrier itself, that lining we talked about,
Think of it
like reinforcing a security fence. This helps prevent unwanted stuff from leaking out of the gut into the bloodstream, which could trigger inflammation.
And do the microbes themselves fight off bad guys?
Some do. Certain beneficial bacteria produce antimicrobial substances that can directly inhibit the growth of pathogenic bacteria. It's like they're policing the neighborhood. And there's more specific types of gut bacteria, like certain Clostridia species, actually encourage the development of special immune cells called regulatory T cells.
Regulatory T cells.
Yeah, these Tregs, their job is essentially to calm the immune system down to prevent it from overreacting and causing unnecessary inflammation. So a healthy gut microbiome helps keep the immune system balanced, ready to fight when needed, but calm when not.
Okay, this is all incredibly interconnected. Digestion, vitamins, immunity. Now, what about the brain? The gut-brain connection is talked about so much now.
Ah, yes, the gut-brain axis. It's a really hot area of research, and for good reason. It's a two-way street. The brain talks to the gut, and the gut talks right back to the brain.
And our microbes are involved in this chat.
Deeply involved. One major way is through neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers your brain uses. Your gut microbes can actually produce neurotransmitters or influence your body's production of them.
Like which ones?
Well, the most famous example is probably serotonin, often called the happy hormone.
Right, linked to mood.
Exactly. And get this, estimates from places like Johns Hopkins Cleveland Clinic suggest that something like 90 to 95% of your body's total serotonin is actually produced in your gut.
95%. In the GUT, not the brain.
Primarily in the gut, yes. Mostly by specialized cells in the gut lining called enterochromaffin cells. But this is key. The activity of these cells, how much serotonin they make, is heavily influenced by your gut microbes.
Okay, wow. So if all that serotonin is made in the gut, does it, travel up to the brain and make us happy? How does that work?
That's a great question, and it's a bit nuanced. Most of the serotonin produced in the gut actually stays in the gut, where it plays important roles in digestion, regulating muscle contractions, things like that. It doesn't easily cross the blood-brain barrier to directly affect serotonin levels in the brain.
Oh, so it doesn't directly impact brain mood then?
Not directly by traveling there, no, but it influences the brain indirectly through other pathways. A really important one is the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve, I've heard of that. It connects the gut and brain.
It's like a major information highway between the two. Gut-derived serotonin can stimulate nerve endings in the gut, including the vagus nerve, sending signals up to the brain, so the gut status gets communicated.
I see. So it's more like sending messages than sending the actual serotonin molecule.
That's a good way to put it. Plus, gut microbes also produce or influence other neurotransmitters, like GABA, which tends to have calming effects, and dopamine, involved in reward and motivation.
So the gut's microbial state can really influence the chemical signaling that affects our mood, anxiety, stress.
Exactly. That's why researchers are so interested in the links between gut health and mental well-being, mood disorders, anxiety, stress resilience, even cognitive function, and things like sleep quality. Some studies have found correlations between, say, greater microbial diversity in the gut and sleeping better.
Sleep, too. It really touches everything.
It seems to. It highlights why thinking about gut health is so fundamental to overall health.
Absolutely. Okay, so if a healthy gut is this important, what are the signs? How do you know if things are generally working well down there? What are the positive indicators?
Well, probably the most obvious sign is regular, comfortable digestion. Having bowel movements consistently, maybe once or twice a day, that are well-formed, easy to pass, without pain, excessive gas, or bloating, that's a good baseline.
Okay, comfortable digestion. What else?
Sustained energy levels can be a sign, too. If your gut is working efficiently, absorbing nutrients properly, it can contribute to feeling energetic throughout the day.
Makes sense. And given the gut-brain link.
Right. Stable moods, good mental clarity, feeling generally well mentally, these can also reflect a balanced gut. And then there's the immune aspect. If you find you don't get sick very often, and when you do, you bounce back pretty quickly, that could suggest your gut-based immunity is strong.
So resilience, both physically and maybe mentally.
Yeah. And while you can't see it directly without lab tests, underlying all this, as NIH research points out, is likely a high level of microbial diversity. Lots of different types of beneficial microbes doing their jobs. That diversity is really a hallmark of a healthy gut ecosystem.
So it's less about just not having stomach aches and more about this overall feeling of well-being.
Precisely. A healthy gut is like having a really strong foundation for the rest of your body's systems to function optimally.
Got it. Okay, flip side then. What about when things aren't going so well? What are the signals that maybe your gut is unhappy or out of balance? This dysbiosis term I hear.
Right. Dysbiosis just means that microbial community is out of balance. Maybe not enough good guys, too many problematic ones, or just not enough diversity overall. And yeah, there are definitely red flags.
Like what? The obvious digestive stuff first.
Usually, yes. Things like frequent bloating that's uncomfortable, excessive gas, maybe persistent abdominal pain or cramping. Changes in bowel habits are a big one, ongoing constipation or diarrhea, or maybe swinging between the two.
Okay, those seem clear. Any others in the digestive realm?
Sometimes developing new food intolerances or sensitivities, foods that used to be fine suddenly causing problems. Even persistent bad breath, halitosis, that isn't explained by dental issues can sometimes have roots in the gut.
Bad breath? Didn't know that one. Okay, but we know the gut affects more than just digestion. So what are some non-digestive signs of dysbiosis?
Yeah, this is important because sometimes the gut issues aren't the most prominent symptom. Persistent, unexplained fatigue is a really common one. Feeling drained even after sleeping okay.
Fatigue. Okay, what else?
Mood disturbances, increased anxiety, maybe symptoms that feel like depression, difficulty concentrating, that feeling of brain fog. These can definitely be linked back to gut health through that gut-brain axis.
The gut-brain axis again?
Always. Skin problems, too.
Mm-hmm.
Things like acne, eczema, rosacea, sometimes flare-ups can be related to inflammation originating from an imbalanced gut.
Skin issues. Interesting.
And back to immunity, finding yourself getting sick more often, catching every cold that goes around, or having more severe allergy symptoms might also point towards a gut imbalance compromising your immune function.
More infections, worse allergies.
Possibly. And even things like unexplained weight changes, difficulty losing weight or gaining it easily, or having really strong cravings, especially for sugar or processed foods, can sometimes be influenced by the types of microbes dominating your gut. Some microbes seem to thrive on sugar.
So even cravings might be a sign. Wow. Okay, it seems like a lot of things in our modern world could potentially cause this dysbiosis. What are the main culprits?
You're right, many aspects of modern life aren't exactly gut-friendly. Diet is probably number one for most people.
What kind of diet?
A diet consistently high in processed foods, refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and crucially low in dietary fiber. This kind of diet pattern basically starves your beneficial microbes, the fiber eaters, and preferentially feeds less desirable ones. It directly shifts the balance.
So the standard American diet, essentially.
Often, yes, it contributes significantly. Then there's chronic stress. We talked about the gut-brain axis well. Stress hormones directly impact the gut environment. They can change motility, secretions, and even increase gut permeability, that leaky gut idea.
Leaky gut, meaning things get through the gut lining that shouldn't.
Exactly. Increased intestinal permeability. Stress can contribute to that, allowing bacterial components or undigested food particles to pass into the bloodstream, potentially triggering inflammation.
Okay, so diet, stress, what else?
Poor sleep. Lack of quality sleep or inconsistent sleep schedules disrupts the natural rhythms of the gut microbiome. It's a two-way street. As we mentioned, bad sleep affects the gut, and a bad gut can affect sleep.
The sleep connection again.
Absolutely. Then there's the overuse or sometimes even necessary use of antibiotics. They're lifesavers, no question. But they're not selective. They can wipe out large populations of beneficial bacteria along with the targeted pathogen. And recovery can take time. Diversity might not fully return without conscious effort.
Right, antibiotics are a big one.
Anything else? Exposure to certain environmental toxins could play a role. Smoking is definitely detrimental to gut health, and excessive alcohol consumption can also irritate the gut lining and disrupt the microbial balance. So it's often a combination of these factors.
It sounds like a lot of potential pitfalls. So if someone's listening and thinking, maybe my gut needs some help, what can they actually do? Is popping a probiotic pill the answer?
Probiotic supplements can be helpful for some people in certain situations, maybe after antibiotics or for specific conditions, but they're definitely not a magic bullet or a replacement for foundational changes. Improving gut health is really a more holistic thing.
Holistic. Okay. Where do you start?
Diet is the absolute cornerstone. It's where you have the most direct influence every single day. The key is focusing on variety and fiber.
Variety and fiber.
Yes, eating a wide range of whole foods, especially plants, vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Each type of plant fiber feeds different types of beneficial bacteria. So diversity in your diet promotes diversity in your gut. Think about eating the rainbow. Different colors often mean different nutrients and different types of fiber.
Feed your gut bugs.
That's exactly it. Think of fiber as prebiotic food for your good microbes.
Okay, fiber first. What about fermented foods? You hear so much about yogurt, kimchi.
Yes, fermented foods are fantastic. They are natural sources of live beneficial bacteria probiotics, including things like plain yogurt with live active cultures, kefir, unpasteurized sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, maybe some kombucha. Regularly incorporating these can directly add beneficial microbes to your gut community.
So prebiotics, fiber, feed the good bugs already there, and probiotics, fermented foods, add more good bugs to the mix.
You've got it. It's a great 1-2 punch.
Could you give us some more specific examples, like top prebiotic foods, top probiotic foods?
Sure. For prebiotics, think garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, slightly underripe bananas are great, oats, apples, flax seeds too, lots of options.
Okay, garlic, onions, oats, common stuff.
Exactly. For probiotics, we mentioned plain yogurt. Check for live active cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Kefir, real sauerkraut, and kimchi, the refrigerated kind, usually unpasteurized.
Mm-hmm.
Miso paste, some types of kombucha. Watch the sugar content, though.
Got it. Any other food categories that are particularly helpful?
Well, besides just fiber in general, focusing on other fiber-rich powerhouses is good berries are fantastic, packed with fiber and antioxidants. Leafy greens like spinach and kale. Legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas are fiber superstars. Nuts and seeds offer fiber and healthy fats.
So lots of whole plant foods.
Definitely. And one more category, anti-inflammatory foods. Chronic low-grade inflammation isn't good for the gut environment, so foods that help combat inflammation are beneficial.
Like what?
Fatty fish, rich in omega-3s, salmon, mackerel, sardines, extra virgin olive oil, spices like turmeric, maybe with black pepper to boost absorption, and ginger. And again, those colorful fruits and vegetables packed with anti-inflammatory antioxidants. You see a lot of overlap here. A Mediterranean-style diet, often recommended by places like Harvard, hits a lot of these points. Lots of plants, healthy fats, fish. It's generally very gut-friendly.
That makes a lot of sense. Diet is clearly huge. What about beyond food? Stress and sleep came up as disruptors.
Absolutely critical. Managing stress is non-negotiable for long-term gut health. Whatever works for you, exercise is fantastic. It has its own benefits for the microbiome, too. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, hobbies. Finding ways to buffer chronic stress is key.
And sleep.
Prioritize it. Aim for that 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep most nights if you're an adult. It allows your body, including your gut and its microbial inhabitants, to rest and repair. Remember that feedback loop: good sleep supports a healthy gut, and a healthy gut can support better sleep.
It really is all connected. This has been incredibly enlightening, really digging into the science behind gut health from sources like NIH and Mayo Clinic. It's amazing how central these tiny microbes are.
It truly is. And the research keeps uncovering more connections, but the core message is clear. Nurturing your gut health is fundamental for your overall well-being, both physical and mental.
And it feels empowering, knowing we can influence it through our choices.
Definitely. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't need a perfect diet overnight. Start small. Add one more vegetable to dinner. Try a small glass of kefir or some sauerkraut. Make a conscious effort to wind down an hour earlier for better sleep.
Small, sustainable changes.
Exactly. Every little positive step helps nourish that inner ecosystem. You're supporting trillions of tiny allies that are working hard for your health.
That's a great way to think about it. Thank you so much for breaking all this down for us today. Really valuable insights.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating topic.
And for everyone listening, just a reminder. While we've covered a lot based on current research, this conversation is for educational purposes. It's not a substitute for personal medical advice. If you have specific health concerns or are thinking about making significant changes, please do consult with your own healthcare provider.